JDM fans, just keep winning. Amazing news to end the year with as we go into 2026. The next half of this decade is shaping up to be an exciting return of JDM. I'm talking the return of the MR2, baby, as well as a brand new Nismo lineup and so much more. So I already made a whole video dedicated to the GR-GT, so check it out after this one if you haven't already. But wow, my envious and genuinely just jealous of how JDM car guys are eating good right now, because as an American muscle fan, kind of just twiddling my thumbs. I mean, I guess the new Shelby GT500 is like around the corner, but I mean, who cares about that? This is about Japanese cars, this video. Not only are JDM fans winning with real life cars, they're gonna absolutely feast in the gaming community too. I'm genuinely so hyped that the next Forza game is going to be set in Japan. It has been 7 years that I've ever been excited for Forza Horizon games specifically. Like, remember when we all thought Horizon 4 was gonna be super awesome and the seasons were gonna be great, and then we got super sick of the gimmick after like 2 or so months, then a lot of people quit like half a year later, and then Forza Horizon 5 came out and it was like banging for like 4 weeks, and then everyone left again because everyone was just using Game Pass and not actually buying it anymore. But this time around, play the game, make content for the game. We're gonna see a whole new generation of content creators be birthed from the game, just like Forza Horizon 3, bro. And part of me feels like they kind of knew we would like Japan, or rather they really knew we would like it, but they refused to make one to save it as an emergency get out of jail free card. And then they finally hit this emergency because it's been 4 years since their previous Horizon game, and there's this big red button behind glass that said don't break unless the shareholders tell us to, and the shareholders probably told them to. Negativity aside, I'm just glad we got this game, and I'm looking forward to it. And this time around, I probably won't be as mean to Forza Horizon players, not because I've turned over a new leaf, but because I have a fresh batch of GTA 6 players to look forward to bullying next year instead. Like, god dang, they are still calling hitting a handbrake double clutching when no clutches are in sight. Like, I'm not gonna gatekeep people on whether or not they can drive a manual car, but brother, if you don't even know what a third pedal is and what a clutch is and the difference that has from a freaking handbrake, I am gatekeeping the F out of that. I ain't ever letting the GTA 5 community live that one down. Ooh, I'm so excited for 2026. Oh, GTA 6 and Forza Horizon 6, that's gonna go so ballistic, bro. We car racing gamers will finally have something on the table to eat this time around. Bro, we were so starved this year in 2025. I don't think people understand. The best racing game this year was one about horses, anime girls. And we liked it. All of us did. Don't lie to me. I saw my Twitter and Instagram feed. Almost every car guy I followed was playing this goofy ass horse racing game. Even Mother Trucking XQC was playing it. We were absolutely dying in the desert, bro. Total famine, like I said. Anything racing related, we were just taking it off the table at this point. We didn't even care if it wasn't about cars anymore. And especially when you consider, like, we got a string of bad news related to car racing games, like Need for Speed, for example. Studio closed. The Crew franchise, they got a lot of their old servers shut down, so their former games they're still functional as a single player after we put a ton of pressure on EU Parliament to kind of like deal with that. That's not a rabbit hole I want to go down, but the point is, like, even Forza Horizon before this announcement, you know, it was on a 4-year hiatus, which is twice as long as usual. So I was kind of worried that they were going to get canned as a franchise like Need for Speed did. And don't get me wrong, we still had good indie racing games. You know, Tokyo Extreme Racer. I don't ever want to discredit those developers. I was worried for AAA gaming, especially for AAA racing gaming, and I'm so glad that I don't have to worry anymore. We got the parachutes coming in. The cavalry has arrived. But yeah, that's that. Now we're gonna move on to talk about real life cars. The Toyota MR2 will probably return. So Toyota's GR department, also known as Gazoo Racing, is pretty well known for making performance cars. If you haven't heard of the new GR-GT that's about to be released soon, surely you've heard of the Supra and the GR Corolla, whose fans also insist that it's like the greatest ever inline 3 and also the best sounding inline 3 and like the first ever performance inline 3, which, nice try. The Triumph Rocket 3 is literally sitting right there, and it's gonna send any other inline 3 to Gapplebees. I wonder how many car guys still don't realize that motorcycle literally has an engine that's like bigger than most most cars even. I don't care if you don't think this comparison is fair because it's between a bike and a car. I just want to talk about the Triumph Rocket 3 because somebody's got to let people know that this inline 3, you know, got to put some respect on it. It's been around, goes super fast, sounds super great, and I gotta let these Corolla driving fanatics know who the real inline 3 OG was. Anyways, back to GR. So Toyota has quietly filed a GR MR2 trademark in multiple countries, which is pretty foreboding. That kind of basically confirms that they have an intention of using this nameplate again. And this is very exciting to revive this and bring back something to consumers, especially like an affordable mid-engine layout. Oh, you know, fingers crossed it's gonna be affordable, but you get the point. Like, but I would still prefer it if car prices fell further because I still feel like 25 grand probably doesn't buy the same amount of coolness that it does literally just like 6 years ago. You know what 25 grand does buy a lot of cool stuff for? Motorcycles. You know what costs 25 grand? A Triumph Rocket. You thought this Triumph Rocket tangent was done? Nah. Call my videos AI scripted, will ya? Well, have you know I ran my videos through an AI detector and it confirmed I am indeed a human. Sorry to say I've been here for 8 years, not going anywhere soon, and I am not some CIA agent who's had some super duper massive secret supercomputer that has been giving me access to AI for the 8 years ago. Like obviously, I literally have a vlog list right there. I'm just a clinically diagnosed and medicated schizophrenic long before the rest of Gen Z starts self-diagnosing themselves with it. So of course I'm gonna have these scatterbrain hallucinations. These aren't AI hallucinations. These are good old classic human hallucinations, baby. Welcome to the channel. Subscribe while you're here. Right after this sponsor, of course. Psych, there is no sponsor. But if you aren't subscribed to this channel, then you definitely should subscribe because it's free. Moving on, the Toyota MR2 was a legendary JDM icon that actually stuck around for quite a bit back in the day, and I fondly remember picking this car in all generations throughout all the various Gran Turismo games, particularly 2 and 3. And I remember that there was actually this girl I went to high school with who drove one of the late gen MR2s, and people would always call it like, haha, she's got like the poor woman's Porsche, because like it's apparently like a stereotype for like, if you grew up around like the egg yolk 911s, like the 996, I think is that body style, people like, especially the Boxster of that generation, people used to meme that like that was the car that husbands bought for their wives. So the MR2 was like the same car that fathers would buy for their daughter, essentially. Personally, I don't think being called the poor person's Porsche is like that, you know, derogatory. Oh no, you're slightly below a really nice car, because Porsches admittedly are pretty nice cars. It's not like they're like calling it something really bad like a Ford Pinto. Sorry, Pinto lovers. Hope you don't explode or lose your head after that one. But like, personally, I think a Porsche is a Porsche and an MR2 is an MR2. I actually really like the styling of the last generation. I guess I have to call it previous generation MR2, because if a new MR2 comes out soon, I don't want this video to sound outdated by calling that one the last generation, because it won't be the last anymore. You know, fingers crossed that we get this. But like, I like the way it looked. A lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot, but a decent amount of people didn't like the way it looked. They thought it looked too bug-eyed, I think was the terminology they'd use. I thought it personally made it look kind of charming. It was super cute. I like it. I like all MR2s, even the murderous intent of the SW20. And in this day and age of how expensive cars are getting, I'm not even sure the new MR2 would be a poor woman's Porsche, because it might literally cost the same as a Porsche. A lot of these articles are hinting for a 2026 comeback. I personally don't see it happening that soon, because I feel like we would have definitely heard more concrete evidence from Toyota if we were gonna. I don't think they're just gonna suddenly airdrop it next year and be like, boom, we didn't announce we're gonna do this, but boom, here it is. I mean, that'd be great if you did, Toyota. Amazing April Fool's prank. But realistically, I think we might see it at an auto show next year, which pretty cool still. And hopefully 2027, 2028 is going to be when we actually start to see production model years. The new Nissan Nismo. Look, I love the Nissan Z. I also love Nismo. I also love Nissan, except maybe the Altima, which somehow squeaked by for another production year, making it one of the only sedans still in production. So I kind of still root for it, even though I begrudgingly put up with it, because I do hate SUVs, that's no secret. But that also means that because the Altima is still going to be around, it will inflict generational trauma onto Gen Alpha that it already has inflicted with us to Gen Z and Millennials with all this big Altima energy. So it keeps going, buddy. Might even last till Gen Beta at this rate. Can we call them Gen Bravo, actually? I bet that's a topic for another time. Point is, we got at least another decade of these MF Altimas terrorizing these streets, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Godspeed, you crazy mother truckers. Keep that big Altima energy going. There's no universe where these new Nismo trims aren't going to be marked up to high hell, because even before clout culture, Nissan, especially their dealers, did a really bad job where they always marked up Nismo trims. Like, older GTR Nismos were like way more expensive than regular GTRs. And oh, don't even get me started on the Fair Lady Nismos. Holy crap. When you combine the fact that we're obviously going through the horrible car prices this year from tariffs and the fact that they're not even showing any signs of slowing down or going down. We're just kind of stagnating, and dealer greed is obviously still holding very, very strong with all this markup. I for sure don't see like this new Nismo lineup being super affordable when they come out. Regardless, I still think the JDM Golden Age is absolutely on track for being back, and at some point I'm just gonna admit that it is back, because once all these cars are out and released simultaneously, boom, there it is, new Golden Age. JDM fans, like I said, they're absolutely having a buffet. They are eating up, getting their fill. So aside from the obvious new Nismo Z that I obviously glazed and talked about, and I love the Z chassis and I love the new Z still, Nissan is also going to add a whole bunch of other Nismo trims. So they're expanding the Nismo lineup, similar to how GR for Toyota is now like a performance offshoot, and they're expanding that, right? So the Nismo lineup, look, let's just talk about it. So I put it with the Nismo Juke back in the day. I think it's a little adorable, but this Nismo Armada, that's something else. That's something else, bro. But hey, to be fair, if a Nismo Armada is possible, anything's possible at this point. Like, hey, Nissan. Hear me out on this one. I know the world might not be ready for this, but if we're just gonna make Nismo versions of everything, why not do the biggest layup of the century? Nismo Altima. You want to talk about JDM cars beating Chinese cars? Who said it had to be beating them on stats with spec sheets when you can literally beat them to a pulp with the weapon of mass destruction that already is the Altima, as you merge it together with the mighty status of the Nismo? Bro, imagine Bro, like imagine China like racing for world record on the Nürburgring with whatever fancy car, then just out of the bushes, boom, some baby mama driving a Nismo Altima who's late for third shift at her second job just blows right past them and sets a faster lap time. Remember, you may think you're fast, but no matter how fast you're driving, an Altima will still somehow pass you. This is the fact of life that every car guy, non-car guy, and really in general, every car driver in the world will learn the moment that they get their license. At some point in your life, when you enter the highway, you will be subjected to the might of the Altima. We are all NPCs merely caught in the Altima's domain expansion. So the final chapter of this video, we've already talked about exciting new JDM cars, but I also want to mention something that also matters, that is a super big staple in JDM culture, which is cars that are going to pass the 25-year mark so they can finally legally be imported. Brother, imagine if politicians had the same level of restraint and patience that JDM fans do, because these mother truckers can't even wait 18 years before flying to some island to get their freak on. Maybe we should start electing JDM fans into office because they've at least shown that they can wait 25 years for things to be legal. I'm not interested in going down any sewers or slides, by the way. Back on topic, the 7th generation Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution and the early gen Civic Type Rs and several other iconic JDM legends from our childhoods featured in countless video games will finally be legal to import and drive in the US. And so will a Renault Clio Sport, but this was about JDM cars, but I just want to mention that because that car, it's super adorable and I love it, and it's actually a tragedy I haven't seen one in the US like at all once ever. I've seen some Lancias. I've yet to see like any Renault actually in America. It's weird. I will obviously mention good luck with tariffs though, so if you are going to import one of these cars next year when they become legal, God have mercy on your soul and Trump be kind to your wallet. But yeah, if you want one, you can finally have one. And as of now, they're going for pretty reasonable prices, 15 to 20 grand before taxes, tariffs, and other fees. So have mercy on your soul when you find out what those import fees are. I'm sure there's certain people you can go through and certain companies that are, there are a lot of companies in America, by the way, especially here in Atlanta. We have some JDM importers who specialize in trying to negotiate and getting the prices and dealing with the duties and the imports and the tariffs and doing all that work for you and getting you a better price. Realistically, if we just say the worst case scenario possible, we're at like 2X's where you're paying, 30 to 40 grand to buy one. It is a bit much to pay for what is essentially a 25-year-old car, but it's not like unattainable money in your lifetime. Still makes me a little sad. I absolutely blame collector culture. I swear collectors ruined everything, man. Like every hobby, not just cars, like everything changed after quarantine. I really don't know why things just all skyrocketed up the way they did. Like, why is everything just so expensive to be part of now? Every hobby is so hard to start. Like, just look at what happened to Pokemon cards, for Christ's mistake. Like, I swear the world really did end in 2020, and we're just in the end credits at this point. But the credits keep scrolling by, and if we stand up right now when everyone else is still sitting down in the theater, it would be way too embarrassing. So we just sit here, staying, seething in silence, watching this clown buffoonery unfold year after year, hoping for it all to just finally conclude so we can move on to the next chapter of our lives. Maybe that's the only way JDM can succeed. We just so happen to be getting a golden age as the rest of the world is entering a sad boy phase. They really are just tied hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Like, honestly, what's waiting for me in 2026? I hate to say it, I'm not even like that hopeful for next year because car prices are like stagnating pretty hard. I already ranted about greedy companies last video though, so that's enough negativity. That's it for the news regarding JDM cars. Sadness aside, I do still look forward to the future in general, even if I think the next few years might be rough. But I guess when you're in a deep enough valley, anything that goes even slightly upwards is something to look forward to, right? So forward into the future we go. Thank you for watching this video, and like this video if you enjoyed listening to this yapaholic, and subscribe for more future yapping sessions. I'll see y'all next year. Blade Angel out.